I am 82 years old, and today I want to tell you something nobody wants to admit. Closing your door to the people you love is sometimes the only way to survive, and living alone is not a tragedy, but a rescue mission. People look at a man my age sitting alone on a porch, and they feel pity. They see the white hair and the slow walk and the empty chairs on the veranda, and they assume my life is a sad waiting room for the end. I am here to tell you that they are completely wrong. I am not waiting for anything. I am finally resting. Oh, it is 6 in the morning right now. I am sitting in a leather chair that is older than most of the people driving to work outside my window. The house is completely silent. I have a mug of black coffee in my hand. I can see the steam rising in the pale morning light that comes through the kitchen window. I can hear the clock ticking on the wall. I can hear my own breathing. There is no television blaring the morning news. There is no phone vibrating on the table. There is no one asking me to fix a broken cabinet or solve a financial crisis or listen to a bitter complaint about the world. There is only the dust dancing in the sunlight and the deep, heavy, beautiful quiet. This quiet is my sanctuary. I built it and I defend it. But it took me a very long time to understand its value. I was a mechanic for 45 years. I owned a shop in town, and I spent my life with my hands covered in grease and oil. I was the man everyone came to when things broke down. I fixed engines, I fixed transmissions, and over time I became the man who fixed everything else for my family. When my wife Martha was alive, our house was the center of gravity for the entire neighborhood. We had 3 children, and then we had grandchildren, and the door was always open. There were always people in the kitchen, always a pot of coffee on the stove, always someone needing a small loan, or a piece of advice, or just a place to vent their anger. I provided the money, I provided the shelter, and I provided the patience. I thought that was my job. I thought a good man was a man who carried the weight of the world on his shoulders without ever complaining. Martha passed away 12 years ago. The cancer was fast and cruel, and when she left, she took all the noise with her. The house became a tomb overnight. The silence terrified me at first. I was 70 years old, and I did not know how to exist without a crisis to manage or a family dinner to carve the roast for. The society we live in is terrified of an empty house. My children panicked. My neighbors panicked. They looked at me as if I were a sinking ship. My daughter Sarah told me I was going to waste away in this big house all by myself. She told me I needed to stay active. I needed to keep the family traditions alive. I needed to keep hosting the Sunday dinners. And I needed to find a companion so I would not be lonely. The message was clear. An old man, alone is a failure, and solitude is a disease that must be cured with constant human interaction. I listened to them. I was afraid they were right, so I left the door wide open. I told my children to come over whenever they wanted. I agreed to host the Sunday dinners just like Martha used to do. I let the grandchildren use my living room as a playground. I even let my son store his boxes of junk in my garage. I tried to be the wise, energetic patriarch they all saw in the movies. I also went to the senior community center because everyone told me I needed to socialize with people my own age. I met a widow named Helen. Helen was a nice woman. She meant well, but she was terrified of the quiet, just like everyone else. We started spending time together, and my family was thrilled. They told me I had a new lease on life. They patted themselves on the back for saving the sad old mechanic from a lonely death. For a little while, I thought I was doing the right thing. But then the reality of being everyone else's solution started to break me down. The physical and emotional drain was completely exhausting. Let me tell you exactly what it felt like. It started with the Sunday dinners. I would spend all of Saturday buying groceries with money from my fixed retirement income. I would spend Sunday morning cooking and cleaning. By 2 inches the afternoon, the house would be full. My children would bring their stress from their jobs and their failing marriages right into my kitchen. They would argue over politics or money while I stood at the stove. The grandchildren would run through the halls, knocking over lamps, leaving sticky handprints on the walls, and ignoring me completely because they were staring at their phones. They would eat the food I paid for and prepared, and then they would leave their dirty plates on the table. They would say, "Thanks, Dad. See you next week." And the door would slam shut. I would be left alone at 7 in the evening, my back aching, my knees throbbing, standing over a sink full of cold, greasy water. I was not a patriarch. I was an unpaid caterer. The relationship with Helen became another full-time job. Helen did not want a partner. She wanted an audience, and she wanted a chauffeur. She wanted to go to the crowded mall on Tuesday afternoons. She wanted to go to noisy restaurants where I could not even hear the waiter because the music was so loud. She wanted me to listen to endless hours of gossip about her neighbors and bitter stories about her former husband. My phone started ringing at all hours of the day. If I was in my garage trying to rebuild an old carburetor just for the peace of the work, the phone would vibrate in my pocket. If I did not answer immediately, she would leave voicemails asking if I was upset with her. I had to manage her anxiety, her schedule, and her constant need for validation. I was suffocating. I felt like a dry sponge that people kept squeezing to see if they could get one last drop of water. I realized I was spending my final years on this earth making sure everyone else was perfectly comfortable while I was deeply miserable. My house did not feel like my house anymore. My chair was always occupied by someone else. My television was always tuned to a loud cartoon or an angry news channel. My bathroom was always messy. The peace I had worked 50 years to earn was being handed out for free to people who did not even respect it. I was losing my mind, but I kept pretending everything was fine because I did not want to be the difficult old man. I did not want to be called selfish. The moment of truth came on. A cold Thursday morning in November, I woke up feeling a sharp pain in my chest. It was not a heart attack, it was just the profound physical manifestation of pure stress. I walked into my kitchen to make my morning coffee. I looked around. There was a jacket thrown over my kitchen chair that my grandson had left 3 days ago. There was a list of errands Helen had asked me to run for her sitting on the counter. The red light on my answering machine was blinking with messages from my daughter, complaining about her husband. I stood there, holding my empty coffee mug, looking at the blinking red light. I felt a wave of absolute clarity wash over me. I realized that my fear of being lonely had trapped me in a life that was actively killing me. I was not lonely when I was alone. I was lonely when I was surrounded by people who demanded my energy and gave me nothing but noise in return. I decided right then that the performance was over. I was 80 years old at the time, and I realized I did not have decades left to waste. I walked over to the answering machine, and I unplugged it from the wall. I picked up the jacket and threw it in the trash bin. I made my coffee. I sat down at my table and I picked up my phone. I called Helen first. I kept it very brief and very calm. I told her I was no longer available to go to dinner. I was no longer available to run errands. And I wished her well. She was shocked. She was angry. She told me I was making a terrible mistake. I did not argue. I just ended the call. Then I called my daughter. I told her the Sunday dinners were permanently canceled. I told her my house was no longer a weekend retreat or a storage facility. She was furious. She told me I was isolating myself. She told me I was being a stubborn old fool. She told me I was going to regret pushing my family away. I told her I loved her, but my door was closed, and I ended the call. I walked to the front door, I turned the deadbolt, and I listened to the heavy metal click into place. The sound of that lock turning was the most beautiful music I had ever heard. The first few weeks were a battle. People do not like it when you stop serving them. They tried to make me feel guilty. They showed up unannounced, but I did not open the door. They sent letters saying they were worried about my mental health. Society trains us to believe that choosing yourself is a moral failure. They teach us that family is everything, and that you must bleed yourself dry to keep the family together. But eventually, they stopped trying. They moved on to find other people to solve their problems. And the silence returned to my house. It has been 2 years since I locked that door. 2 years of absolute, uninterrupted peace. I want to tell you what my life is really like now, so you can stop believing the lies they tell you about old age. I wake up when my body wants to wake up. I eat exactly what I want to eat. I spend hours in my garage working on wood projects, listening to the rain hit the tin roof. Sometimes I sit on my porch for 3 hours and watch the wind blow through the oak trees, and I do not speak a single word. I do not have to listen to anyone complain. I do not have to drive in heavy traffic to buy a gift for a child who will not even look up from a video game to say thank you. My money stays in my bank account. My energy stays in my body. People ask me if I miss the connection. They ask me if I am sad, that my house is empty during the holidays. Let me be completely honest with you. The holidays are the best time of the year because I do not have to participate in the frantic, exhausting circus of forced family joy. I make myself a nice steak. I pour a small glass of whiskey, and I read a book. I do not miss the connection because the connection was false. It was a transaction. I am not isolated, I am insulated. There is a massive difference. Isolation is when you are cut off from the world against your will. Insulation is when you build a wall to protect your peace from a world that wants to consume you. If you are listening to me right now and you are exhausted, I know exactly who you are. You are the peacemaker. You are the one who always says yes. You are the one who hosts the dinners, who pays the bills, who listens to the crying, who fixes the broken pieces of everyone else's life. You are 50 or 60 or 70, and you are tired deep in your bones. You are Tao, terrified of setting a boundary because you Tao are afraid they will stop loving you. I am here to tell you the hard truth from an old man who has seen the end of the road. If they stop loving you because you stop serving them, they never loved you. In the first place, they loved what you did for them. You do not owe your adult children your retirement. You raised them. Your job is done. You do not owe your neighbors your time. You do not owe society a perfectly active, highly social senior citizen act. You have worked your entire life. You have paid your dues to the world. You have paid taxes. You have raised families. You have endured the grief and the loss and the endless heavy lifting of human existence. The time you have left is yours. It does not belong to anyone else. Do not let them shame you for wanting to be left alone. Staying home is not laziness, it is energy protection. Saying no to an invitation is not rude, it is an act of self-preservation. Locking your door is not a tragedy, it is a declaration of independence. You are allowed to be tired. You are allowed to simply exist without producing value for other people. You are allowed to look at the messy, loud, demanding world and decide that you are no longer participating. I sit here in my chair and I am the richest man in the world because nobody has a claim on my time. My breathing is deep, my heart is calm, and my house is clean. The silence is not empty, it is full of my own spirit. I have finally met the man I was before the world told me who I had to be. I am good company. I am enough. And you are enough too. Stop trying to manage the happiness of everyone around you. It is a game. You will never win, and it will kill you slowly. Take back your keys. Take back your money. Take back your quiet mornings and your peaceful evenings. Let them call you selfish. Let them call you difficult. Let them walk away. The people who truly understand love will respect your peace, and the ones who do not respect it, do not deserve a seat at your table. You have survived the storms of life, and now you have earned the right to sit in the quiet harbor. Enjoy the coffee, enjoy the chair, enjoy the simple fact that you do not have to go anywhere or be anything for anybody. Peace is expensive. Stop giving it away for free.